And so we're going to talk about what are parking options and updates from our office on that. We're going to talk about the area of interest, what is unique to this pocket, and some things that you might want to be aware of. We're also going to talk about what does this mean for the local downtown community, because there is a downtown community here. Morning sessions, what does that look like for you all as well? And then talk a little bit about the weekday, weekend, and Monday morning special considerations. So those are some of the things. We want to give you a little bit of a big picture sense. We have 69 different hotel properties. And so even though you're staying in the downtown side, we wanted to put a map up there that just said, hey, here's where all the different pockets are. So this is actually the last webinar that we are doing. We've had one in each of these areas in St. Paul downtown, 394, Bloomington, and the Mall of America. But that's where all 69 are going to be. But in particular, Marissa's going to show you a map on where the downtown properties are. So all those on here tonight, you are staying at one of those dots somewhere in there, or at least you should be at one of those dots. So tonight we're going to talk about in particular of what does it mean to be in this hotel pocket. And one of the things we just want you to know, to be aware of, and I'm sure many of you already know this, that we know that being downtown is probably the thing that's requested the most of us. So there are, most of our gathering participants would love to be exactly where you are. So there are two things we're going to ask of you. One of them is just be aware of that there are many people who are traveling a lot further every day, and that adds some element into their gathering preparations each day. So just be aware of that. And then the other thing is to really be considerate of those people that have to travel extra. So we're going to talk about that a little bit through this webinar too. What are some ways that you can serve those who have anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes extra a day to travel just to get to their hotel or back into the city. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go along as well. The fact that you are downtown, your downtown experience is a walking experience. So we do not shuttle from hotel to hotel, from convention center to hotel, or convention center to the stadium, unless there is a special need. And then we can talk, make sure you talk about our office, talk with our office if that's the case. But we do not shuttle from point A to point B. So if you're downtown, yours is a walking gathering, which is really great. Make sure you get a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something that you can keep track of your steps. It's fun. A little competition within the youth group is always a good thing to do. And then just so you know too, we'll talk about some of the distance of what it is, but most of the time in downtown, you can kind of expect 20 to 30 minutes between hotels and convention centers and stadiums, depending on how popular and how much traffic is in that particular moment. But we'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to start a little bit with talk about your hotel pocket and what our particular interest in that. And so Mark is going to go through a little bit about what's unique to this pocket.
Thanks, Derek. Great to be with you tonight. Probably a couple things that you can probably Google a lot more great opportunities that you have, not only in downtown Minneapolis, but also in that general Twin City area. Just a few things that I want to lift up if you haven't been in downtown Minneapolis or haven't had a chance to study it much, is just a reminder, you got great facilities, not only the ones that we are using in terms of this convention center and also US Bank Stadium, but also Target Field. There are no Twin games while we're in town, except maybe like towards the very end if you're staying late. But so not an option, which again, we wanted that opportunity on one level for people to enjoy some great baseball and a beautiful park, but actually it's really good for our event with how many people we have moving on the light rail. So we're thankful for that to work out in our schedule. As well as Target Center, where the Wolves and Lynx players downtown. So if you got sport fans that want to check that out. Also be aware that there's a great mall, kind of an urban downtown mall called Nicollet Mall. It's actually a street that they basically have blocked off mostly for just bus traffic and then pedestrian traffic. And so that's where some of your hotels are, but it's a great center of kind of downtown Minneapolis. There's great shopping as well as restaurants. Spend some time getting familiar with the Minneapolis Skyway. There is a whole world basically just 1 or 2 floors above the street level that you're going to be able to see, again, walkways across major streets and avenues in downtown Minneapolis. And that's an opportunity for you to get up and find, again, additional shopping and restaurants there too. One note that we do make about that, and we'll say a little bit more, is that the Skyway is primarily open for the work week, Monday through Friday, and that includes the restaurants and shops that are there. So you might find a great place that's a kind of tucked away or a good place to eat on Thursday or Friday, but know that that may not be open on Saturday and Sunday. And we're working within the city to maybe find some places that will extend their hours for dinner on Thursday and Friday, maybe even into the weekends. We'll notify you that about later. But just so you kind of know that the Skyway is there. It's a great way to see the city at a little different perspective. But know that, again, the times might change for the shops and restaurants that are there. Walker Art Center, which is a great art museum, plus there's an outdoor sculpture park. Just amazing. If you've seen pictures that Meredith and other groups maybe have used, that's got like the spoon with the cherry, that's over at the Walker Art Center outdoors. Beautiful park, really walkable from downtown. Fauché Museum and Observation Deck, that gives you an opportunity to get 35 floors up into downtown Minneapolis and have a 360 view of the Twin City area. Really cool thing to see. You got people who are into history, historic churches and architecture in downtown Minneapolis. It's really the history of the Twin Cities and Minneapolis specifically is really pretty interesting. You got people that want to check that out. There's also some great theaters in downtown Minneapolis, including the Hennepin Theater District, all around Hennepin Avenue, and also Guthrie Theater, which is out near the Mississippi River. And also on the river is the beautiful St. Anthony Falls, as well as the Stone Arch Bridge, which gives you a great perspective of that. And also the Mill City Museum, which celebrates, again, the history of mills in downtown Minneapolis. If you're kind of just starting your planning process and you're wondering about the Mall of America, just to let you know, that is about 10 miles south of downtown Minneapolis. You can shuttle yourself down there with your own transportation, or less also the Blue Line will take you down there from downtown Minneapolis. And that's another great opportunity. That's usually, depending on when you go, $2 or $2.50 per ride. And depending on how long you stay, you might need to buy another ticket to bring yourself back. But just to give you a few things that are downtown, I want to next talk about some restaurants and shopping that's available in downtown as well, that you'll be able to take advantage of as you stay in downtown properties. In the downtown area, there are restaurants that are all kind of across the area. I know many of you are probably using Google Maps or other resources to find those. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a lay of the land, is that, again, there's the Nicollet Mall area where there's a lot of restaurants. Not everything there's necessarily what you might say is youth-friendly or maybe at the price that you want it to be. So just be aware of that. There's some nicer sit-down restaurants in that space too. Might be good for one nice night out if you want to do a special meal. But then to be paying special attention for maybe those options for a little bit more of fast food or Chipotle or something that might be connected better for your youth group. Also, if you've got a hotel that's near to the Target Field or Target Center, those restaurants over there, again, cater to often those that are going to the games. So price point might be a little bit different, but yet again, opportunities that are there. Your own hotel might have food available in them, whether it's a restaurant or grab and go options that they're making available to you or to the regular guests. And again, remember the Skyways, which is a great another connection for shopping and also restaurants. But again, remember that the hours may change on the weekend compared to what you might find on Thursday and Friday. Some grocery stores, there is a Target, not surprising, in downtown Minneapolis. And it is an awesome store, 2 floors, just great to go into. They've got a grocery section there as well as grab and go options. They will be very well aware that we are in town, but yet nonetheless, it's 20,000 people in town. So there will be, I'm sure, a very busy place, but know that that is there. It closes at 9 o'clock on Sunday. And there's also a Whole Foods, which is a little bit further north in downtown, closes at 10. And there's also a Lunds and Byerly's, which is a grocery store, and that opens a little bit later, so it doesn't close until midnight if you need that option. But then also certainly check your Google Maps and things for drugstores and convenience stores. Check the hours and locations. And again, if you're having a hard time placing them on a map, it could be because they're actually up in the Skyway. So that's kind of just something to get familiar with the address is that it might be one that's up on the second level, which might have a little different area. So just a little bit, things you might expect in downtown great city like Minneapolis, but just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of where those places are focused.
Yeah, excellent. We've been doing a lot of exploring in the Skywalk, and most of the time we found our way back. So anyway, it's a beautiful, a whole different sitting climate up there, which is really fun to get used to. So here's what we want to do now. We want to switch a little bit into what does it look like in a day of the gathering. And so we'll talk about from when you arrive and some things you can do, and into registration. And we'll talk about what does a normal day look like, so to give you a little bit of a flow and feel of that. And then we'll end on Monday, and some special considerations for worship being downtown. So let's start with Mark. I'm going to come back to you on this one. Let's start with those who are flying in. And so they're coming into the airport on either probably Wednesday or Thursday, the 10th or 11th. And what are some different options that they have to get to the airport downtown from there?
Sure, I'll lift up a couple. One of them, again, the Twin Cities has a great light rail option called Metro. There are two lines. There's a blue line and a green line. The blue line primarily connects downtown Minneapolis. It ends at the Target field, and then all the way down to Mall of America. And on that line is the airport. And that's both terminals. Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 have stops on the light rail. So this could be a great option for your group. Again, it's depending on the time, whether it's rush hour or not, it's $2 to $2.50 per ride. You can buy them at kiosks, or I would highly recommend is to download the app. It is easy to use, simple to use, a great way that, again, especially if you're going to use Metro for some other reason, it just allows you to continue to update your ticket, buy new ones, whatever you need to do. So great resource for you and your group. Again, you'll be taking the blue line up. Depending on your hotel location, we recommend 3 stops. One is Government Center Station, which is the first one right after US Bank Stadium as you come into town. Think of specifically the Hyatt Place, some other properties that are near that one. Nicollet Mall would probably be the top place where most of you would get off. That's just the next stop in, minute or two from the Government Center, where you'd get out and have numerous options from that stop to walk to your hotel. And then also the Warehouse Hennepin Avenue Station. And then as the next one, that'd be for the Lowe's, and a couple other properties that are a little further on the west side of downtown would be kind of maybe your 3 main stops. The light rail is great. Just keep in mind, you will have luggage with you, and some of you might be up to maybe a 5-block walk or a walk through Skyway with luggage. So you might be thinking about weather, you might be thinking some other things, if that is an option that you want to do, but a very cost-effective option. You can check with your hotel about a complimentary shuttle. I'm going to guess that most of you are probably not going to have that option, especially for the group of size that you have. Usually those shuttles are only about 12 to 15 passengers. They're shared with other hotel guests. Do know that maybe there'd be an option to be shuttled someplace else with that transportation, but most likely that's probably not going to be an option for some of you, but certainly check your hotel's website or call to see that. Another great option is PRA is our transportation company that, again, is going to be helping us transport many guests from across the Twin City area into downtown Minneapolis and back home from US Bank Stadium. They're also providing a shuttle at $18 per person one way from, again, either terminal to your hotel, and then an option to return home on Monday or Tuesday. They do the shoulder days as well. So a day before the event starts and the day after where we conclude the gathering. And then the other one too, especially for smaller groups, is we've utilized Uber and Lyft or other rideshare programs. They are great. Again, at both terminals, the access to those pickup points is really easy just outside the luggage claim area. So it's easy to find. Ask an information desk if you can't find the pickup spot. But again, those app-based resources are really helpful in a city like Minneapolis.
Excellent. And I know some of you are asking questions. We'll make sure we get to those. I'm writing them down here so we can come back to those. We'll cover some of them as we go along too. I know a lot of people are driving down. And so we've had a lot of questions in our office of what do we do with our car? What are some different options? And here's the first one. If I would just plan on this, a lot of the hotels have parking lots, but the hotel parking lots are very expensive for almost all of them. So if you are planning to do that, almost all of them are $20 a night. And you know, we've talked with the city and they understand, but there are a lot of people that are parking in the city, not just our gathering, but local residents, people who work down here as well. And so just know that parking downtown is pretty expensive. There is, or there are some apps that we can link you to that will talk about different garages. They'll show the garages that are open. They'll show the rates that they have. And so you'll have a chance to look at those different things and to make sure which one ever works best for you. Typically what we have found in our planning is that if you go down typically 2 blocks or 3 blocks away from the hotel, the rate for the parking is drastically lower. So just kind of be watching those different things. We've talked with the city and stuff like this. There's just not a lot of really cheap parking options downtown. We're also working with some different churches and some different options that we're trying to find out some different ways to make that lower, or some different options. We know a lot of you might know someone in the cities, and one of the things to consider doing is bringing your car, dropping people off, maybe go parking with a relative or a friend, and then Ubering in or having them drive you in. It would certainly save a bunch of money, because really when you're down here, there's not a whole lot of need for your car. So there's some different things that we're working on that we'll try to give you a sense of, but just so you know, hotel parking is usually pretty expensive, and we would say figure in about $20 a day if that's what you're looking at doing. And then a lot of things down here, even not too far away, if you want to Uber or jump on the metro, you can get to some kind of neat pockets from either of those things for relatively $5 to $6, $7 per Uber ride or metro pass. So those are some of the things to think about. But we will not provide any downtown parking that's free. It's just not an option down here, so that you're aware of that. The other thing I want to make sure, so when we talk about registration in particular, Wednesday and Thursday will be registration for the gathering. And since you're at a downtown property, the beautiful thing is you get to choose when you come down and do your registration. So you can come down anytime that's open. There's no shuttles down here. So when your group is ready and when it works best for your schedule, I would figure in probably 20 to 30 minutes of walking between your hotel and the convention center. And we really encourage you to bring down just the adults in that. There's not programming going on in the convention center while registration is going on. So there's really no need for the youth to come down and be a part of that. There's some orientation meetings for the adults. So I bring adults enough to carry your backpacks and the things that you need, and you should be pretty good with that. So we're gonna go a little bit into now of what a day looks like. So we've got you registered. And now, Mark, can you take them and talk through a little bit? What does a day look like from a downtown property?
Sure. So again, as Derek said, walking in terms of between the facilities. And so that first evening, we'll have our opening mass event on Thursday night with starting at 8:30. More information will be coming out exactly with door openings and that kind of stuff. I kind of expect that around 7:30 in terms of getting into the US Bank Stadium. So in terms of budgeting time for meals, getting prepared for that, something you'd be thinking about on that opening night. Going through the 3 main days of the event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you all are assigned to a 9 o'clock morning session at the convention center. Those that are staying at outline hotels that'll be transported in the morning have a 10:31. So we're hoping that kind of everyone's leaving the hotel at the same time. So you're leaving, have a short walk or a walk to your the convention center for your morning sessions, where others are getting onto shuttle buses or the metro line to come in the evening. So you'll have a 9 o'clock morning session that'll be assigned by your hotel. So you'll get that information at a later date, but basically we're in 3 large rooms at the convention center. You'll be in one of those 3 with the morning sessions that you've been able to meet on social media. Again, just be in mind that there's gonna be a lot of people moving in during that time as well. So the convention center will look very different when you come out of your morning session as when you went in, as there will be a lot of our friends joining us during that time and getting ready for their 10:30 session. What this also allows you, though, is we added an additional early morning session at 10:30. So that gives you another session slot to go hear speakers speak on a variety of topics, as well as the convention center interactive floor opens. So you got program options that are immediately available to you when you leave your 9 o'clock session, as well as obviously meals and food at the convention center too. So that's your kind of first part of that day. Then throughout the day, you are enjoying sessions, the interactive center, opportunities to connect with your young people, time of learning, and also really community building while you're at the gathering. Again, expect that for you, we're coming up with routes that will communicate, certainly follow your community life builders, yellow shirts, about ways in which you as probably downtown properties, we might have you take specific routes out of the convention center to go, if you want to go to your hotel, or back to, if you're going to eat downtown in a place other than at the US Bank Stadium, just allow those who are going to the stadium for food events that are taking place in the Commons to have a more direct route, so that they have the chance to do that and get there on time. But again, you're invited to do that as well when the time for those signups come up, or if you want to take advantage of the food trucks, that'll be over at US Bank Stadium. Going into the evening, then again with our mass event time, is that starts at 8:30. We'll have more information on the exact kind of doors open time, but kind of expect that between 7 and 7:30, depending on different things that you might be connected with or ways that you're entering the building. So it gives you, again, that time for a nice dinner hour, evening meal, as you make that transition over to US Bank Stadium. Like Derek said, 20, 30 minutes, depending on what traffic you hit, where you're going to go on the way downtown, just from the straight walk of the convention center to US Bank Stadium. And then in the evening time, really looking forward to that time, both not only in mass events, but mass events plus. So if that's not, the mass event plus isn't something that you're interested in, the mass event will be done roughly at around 10 o'clock, 10:15, where you'd be free to leave and to go back to your hotel for some community group time with your young people. There is not programming back in your hotels, just so that you're aware of that. What we probably will have, as best as possible, we'll have the ballrooms or meeting rooms that you might have in your hotel open, so you can go down, do your Bible study, maybe do some prayer time together as a community, but really there won't be programmatic stuff happening back at your hotel. If you stay for the Mass Event Plus, that'll get done around 11 or 11:15, and again, be walking back to your hotel. One thing, this is one of these opportunities that Derek was talking about. One thing we have you keep in mind is that there are going to be 10,000 plus people trying to get on shuttles and trying to get on their metro. And so really let them get to their location. They're going to be, there's a Mall of America, or excuse me, there's a US Bank Stadium stop there for the metro. There's going to be a lot of people queuing into lines there. We got people trying to get out to their shuttles. Maybe kind of let those people leave first so that they can get to their shuttle and to be able to get home. On Sunday, just a reminder, there's no Mass Event Plus. So basically 10:15, things will be wrapping up, and again, be heading back to your hotel for the evening. On Monday, just a different schedule there is that, again, we're at the US Bank Stadium for our closing worship service. Again, moving a lot of people during rush hour, both on the blue line as well and the green line, and also with our own shuttle transportation. So be keeping that process in prayer as they go through rush hour traffic in Minneapolis, but we're really looking forward to the witness that we're able to make to this Twin Cities as we make our way to the divine service that morning. So you as well to be thinking that through for your schedule in terms of maybe checking out of the hotel, and we'll have a lot of our hotels will be prepared for additional space where luggage can go and be locked up for the morning while you go off to worship. But then be thinking through and budget that time depending on what your plan is for transportation or what you'll be doing after the mass event or after worship. Worship starts at 9:30, doors opening at 8:30. And so again, another opportunity for us to gather at US Bank Stadium. But it's just as you're budgeting out that time. Monday afternoon, again, time to return to your hotel or wherever you may be going in terms of returning home. One thing that we want you to keep in mind, that if you're planning to go to the Mall of America on Monday, is remember that we've got thousands of people we're moving on that blue line back to their hotels from US Bank Stadium. So they're getting back as well to prepare to return home. So just to keep that in mind, that if that was your plan for Monday afternoon, to be thinking about your travel options. And if the blue line was your travel option, just to be thinking through that step. So you might want to maybe eat first in downtown Minneapolis, let the crowds dissipate and go down, and then you follow them up. Or to be thinking of that schedule, maybe another transportation option that might work better for your group. So just some things to think of what that plan is for Monday afternoon following worship, as again, we come together and celebrate who we are as God's people.
Excellent, excellent. So let me take one more thing as we kind of get this. One of the things that we've talked a lot about is we have a great opportunity as a youth gathering and as a church to be this amazing witness to this downtown working community. There are, this is a place in Minneapolis that has a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and it's really catered to Fortune 500 companies down here. And what an opportunity that we have. And you think about this, there's not a lot of cities that say, oh, it is so good to hear that there are 20,000 high schoolers coming to our workplace and where we spend all this time. They don't get really excited about that because you think about all the different news stories and the things that they hear about what teenagers are about. But the thing that we love is our gathering and our church have such a great reputation among the communities. We hear all the time, I can't believe how great these youth behave. I can't believe how respectful they are. I can't believe how nice they are and how much they want to help people. And so one of the things that we talked about is how do we continue to find ways to be this powerful witness in the city. And so here are some things that we want you as the adult leader to be aware of as part of our loving witness to Jesus in the city, and that we want you to kind of communicate to your youth of looking for the opportunities all around them. And we talked about the Skyway being such a beautiful thing, but we've noticed it today, in fact, that it's like it's a community to itself. And there are certain times like lunch times, morning times, end of the work days, where those can get kind of crowded. A lot of people moving from one place to the next, especially on a today. Today was a little rainy. And so there were even more activity in the Skyway. And so when you take Skyway, one of the things you can do is make sure that we are creating paths for locals to get through. I know that sometimes that we get so involved in our own groups and talking with each other's and conversations, and 9 people looking at their phones and not looking where they're going, that sometimes we lose perspective that we're slowing people up behind us, or that people can't get through. And we know that that sometimes is an annoyance for people. So just help your group understand to make sure that there's lanes for people to get through, especially if we get gathering participants going both ways in that. So just looking for those. Same thing on sidewalks. When we're on sidewalks, I think when a large group of people are moving at one point, it's easy to start walking instead of in groups of 3 or 4. We start walking in groups of 5 or 6 across, and there's just no lanes. So make sure that we just create great walking paths for people within the city to walk both in the sidewalks, the skywalks, and throughout the downtown. So help them be aware of that, especially during the morning rush hour times and during the lunch and skywalks are 2 of the big times. Mark, you want to talk about a little bit with the locals and some of the things think about like foods and lines and things like that?
Absolutely. So a couple things just want to go over too is that we are so blessed to have Concordia St. Paul as a partner. Many of you are going to district events being hosted by Concordia St. Paul. Beautiful campus, great opportunity, going to be fun events that will be taking place throughout the gathering. Just want to give a quick note. We've got some questions about transportation there. One is that Concordia St. Paul is actually really close to the Green Line, which is from downtown Minneapolis is heading east to downtown St. Paul. And so that is a great opportunity either from your properties, or again, if you're any place downtown by one of those stops, it's easy to get on. It's probably about a 20, 25 minute, maybe right on the Green Line, plus a little bit of a walk. But that's a great option for you to get out to Concordia St. Paul, as well as to check into potentially if your district is doing some sort of shuttle from downtown. That should be a part of your registration information. Might be one of the options, or there might be a charge for that. But just know that some were asking about coordinating that. And then again, your own transportation might be an option too. That if you've got your own car, some of you obviously are driving from seeing the questions, but simply I'm sure CSP will be giving information about where parking will be for you if you're driving. And then as well, don't forget Uber, Lyft, other rideshare programs. Great opportunity to be able to get to Concordia St. Paul and to be able to enjoy that event. Again, just in general to go over, I know we talked about this with food options. Just again, to be thinking about options in downtown Minneapolis that went over before. Confirm those hours maybe through Google or calling them, or just check the signs when you're there. Again, we're going to be working on maybe getting some that will know that certainly they'll be well aware we're in town, but just maybe have some alternative hours for us when we're there over the weekends and things. But just to be thinking about the great food that's in downtown Minneapolis. Remember those restaurants and Skyways could be great options again on Thursday and Friday, or if you're around on Monday as well. Just to remind you too, Convention Center will be having concessions for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're opening parts of the Convention Center as early as 8 o'clock, and that's partly, again, for our shuttlers who are on some early shuttles that need to come in, so there's a place for them to go. So that's an option for them to get meals there at the center, as well as, again, they've got things that'll be open later into the evening as well. Great option with, you've got a little bit of information coming out about what will be taking place in the Commons Park by US Bank Stadium. So that's a state fair option, which is a prepay option, but then also food trucks that'll be there. So again, another opportunity for your young people to get a little bit of a different flavor every night, and then also to see some great food from downtown Minneapolis. And then there's also concessions at US Bank Stadium. Typical stadium concessions. If you've been to a sporting event, a little bit maybe more expensive. The food's going to be what you're going to have at a normal sport or concert. So you kind of know what that looks like, but just to kind of give you another option that's there and that's available. Should also mention too that there's going to be some food on Sunday night for groups that are kind of waiting for transportation that would be available for kind of for some dessert options. But yet, again, a lot of that kind of is there to help our folks who are waiting in line as they don't have other options to get to because they got to wait for transportation. So might ask for you, especially if there are lines, to maybe move past those food trucks just because those are really for those who, when they get back to the hotel, they don't have options when they get there. So if you've got other options, in your hotel, if you got grab and go or something, maybe take advantage of those to let those who are staying outside of the area to have a food option before they head back to their center. You saw there on the slide too, real quickly, Convention Center's been working on a great, thanks Meredith, a great menu for us, great options in the Convention Center itself, everything from walking taco, Mac Attack, to coffee as well, as that will be I know a big concern certainly, and a big option and opportunity for us. If you didn't know, Minnesota is not only the land of 10,000 lengths, Minneapolis is the land of 10,000 caribou coffees. So there is plenty of options for you in downtown Minneapolis if you are a coffee drinker like I am. And need to have that in the morning and throughout the day. So great options there too. But Dunn Brothers is also in the Convention Center. It's just a great place for you to get a snack and also coffee. And then there's just a lot of snack items too, which are really there that are available, as well as they lift up again that breakfast cafe that'll be open as people are arriving from other places, but you're welcome to come as well. Be open probably 8 or 8:30 in the morning. And then our outdoor grill will be something that'll be open even into the late afternoon and evening as a possible dinner option. So those are some things to be thinking about. Just a general price range, about $6.50 to $8.25 for entree, $2 to $3 for sides and drinks. So if you're adding a drink and dessert and things like that, you might be looking at $12.50 to $15 for all 4 of those. But that's a lot of food for one person. But just to be thinking about that price as you're doing your budget for food. Remember, the convention centers, again, they are doing a wonderful job in helping us provide options. They hosted a lot of stuff for the Final Four, not the game and things, but other activities. And they were really testing some things out with some youth audiences. They had come in to work on our menu so they'd be ready for us. So we're thankful for all the work that they've done to really make that a great food venue for all of you and really try to make it cost effective in a lot of different ways. So again, thanks for keeping that as an option and be utilizing that as well. It's just great to be in that facility.
Excellent. And a couple things, and then we're going to get to your questions. So we know we have a lot of questions, and so we'll make sure that we get to those. So if you've got one you've been waiting, get ready to type that in. The other thing, just to kind of know about the atmosphere of downtown, it is you'll definitely see a difference on Thursday and Friday. It's a heavy work week here, and so a lot of movement within the city, and it's a lot of outside, inside, skywalk, all that. And then it gets to the weekend, and in the north, this is North Country, and it is cabin fever. So people, when they start even getting, I talk about Friday, they leave work a little early, they head up to the cabin, they're there for the weekend. And the downtown in Minneapolis in the summer, unless there's Twins games and things like that, but there's not, it will have a very slow feel to it. So Thursday and Friday, very different, a lot of rush. And then on Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, the place just kind of closes down. You don't see a lot of traffic. There won't be there, just so that you have that feel. And then again on Monday, once again, as Mark was saying before, it gets quite very busy. The rush comes back in. And so think about even things like when you're thinking about movement on Monday morning and you're going to worship and you're like, oh, we'll stop by one of the food places on the way there. Well, everyone's back on Monday, and the Caribous are going to be fuller, and the convenience stores are going to be a little fuller. So just take that into account. A lot more opportunity on the weekends to get through things pretty quickly, but during the work week, it just takes longer. So factor that in. And then the other thing is think about opportunities that you can have to be a witness to people that are downtown. So for example, if you got a group of 15 that's waiting and you got a local behind you, great opportunity to say, hey, why don't you go ahead of us and you can check out. If you notice that people are getting a little annoyed that they're waiting a little longer and where are all these kids from, take the opportunity to talk with them, to tell them a little bit more about their event, to have them get a sense of what we're doing down here, buy their meal. Sometimes the best way to change an attitude is free food. At least that it works for me. So maybe it'll work with them. So we really want to say it's a great opportunity for us to leave a powerful impression on why we're here and who we worship. And we want to make sure that Jesus is at the front of everything. So with that, here's what we want to do. We want to get to your questions because we know that there are several of them. So Mark, I'm going to start throwing some out here. And I'm going to go back all the way to the beginning. And Ryan asked, there were a few that asked this, that talked about, is there a bulk rate for the Metro for people that are downtown?
There's not a bulk rate. So you'll have to buy the tickets again, kind of how the general plan is through the app or through the kiosks that are there, but there's not a bulk rate. I think I saw a question too about week passes. They do not have passes like that as either. You can do day passes, I believe is the longest stretch that they have that are available through those same services.
Excellent. And then there was some other questions that we're just talking, and we'll clarify this a little bit about registration and convention center. Just reiterate again, there's no other activity in there. There's adult orientations. You don't need to bring down all your adults, just as many as you think that you need to carry everything back. Okay.
And Derek, I'll add in there too, if I don't think I said it before, but we do have, for those of you that are hotels that are a little further away, we will have a shuttle that will loop, primarily not to get you from your hotel down to the convention center, but from your convention center back to your hotel. Really, it's really picking it up at the convention center. So when you're carrying all those backpacks and everything, that'll help you get back to your hotel.
And there was another question on Metro 2, Mark, and sorry if I missed this, what you just said. Do they have to buy the individual ticket per person on the Metro?
Good question. I know I actually just used it the other night, and my initial thought was like, no, you can buy multiple tickets, because you can. When you log in and you buy the tickets, you can buy multiple tickets. The one thing I guess I didn't test is, I don't know if I could buy multiple tickets for myself, and I can't, I don't know if I can in a sense, you activate your tickets is what you do on your phone. And I'm not sure if I can activate multiple tickets. So we'll check on that. We'll give them some more Metro tips down the line, and we'll see how we can work that. But I think in the conversations we've had, they've mentioned it, that adult leaders would be able to do that through the app, but we need to confirm that. So that's a really good question. I do know, for example, if you knew for sure you're coming into town and you're going to do 5 trips, I know you can buy 5 tickets that way. I'm just not sure if you can activate more than one at a time. If you can, the process would be, you just got to make sure you keep your youth around you, so you can, if you get stopped by one of the Metro officers, that you could say, I got 5 tickets here. Here are the 5 youth I paid for. So that's just the main thing that you need to stay close to them, so that you can actually verify that you have their ticket for them.
Okay, great. And then Anne asked this question too, like if their group is, and looking for some options here, if their group is coming in on their flight and the group is going to the Mall of America, but they do not want to leave their airport for the week, they want to get to the hotel. Are there options for that? Some different things that they could do to get their luggage to the hotel?
You broke up a little bit for me, Derek. If you're not going with the luggage, I'm not necessarily aware of any. There might be services that do that. That might be worth like a web search or something like that. If you've got enough adults that can take the luggage, absolutely, that you could have the adults go to the hotel, take it, and then basically you'd be going southbound on the Blue Line to Mall of America, where the Blue Line ends. If you want to take the youth or so many adults to go, or so many adults could go into the downtown property and drop off the luggage, that absolutely would work. But the other piece might be hotel by hotel, but I'd have to look that up to see if there's a service that does that.
Okay. And another luggage question that kind of goes after that, and I think it heads with on Monday, where they talk about late hotel checkout. And so everyone's going to be a little different with the hotel, because they definitely have people that are coming into the hotel after our event. And so there are a couple different things that we're working with hotels. One of them, we're trying to do a baggage place, so that there's a room that you can check out, put your baggage in, you can go to worship, and then you come back and get that. For some, if you can call and check, they'll give you a late checkout. One of the things that we're encouraging, that if you've got, let's say you've got 8 rooms, that you would actually say, hey, can we have 1 room for a late checkout and bring all the luggage into that room, and then let them clean and get ready the other 7 is an option. So different things, but you got to work with your hotel in that in particular. And then there were a lot of questions about large passenger vans, and that's correct. There are certain height restrictions for different garages, but there are plenty of open air garages down here too, where you can come in. It's a ground floor. I think Fleet Farm, which is down by the stadium a little bit more, those you can do 15 passenger vans because they have them in there all the time. There's another lot that's pretty close to the convention center, right next to Central Lutheran. That's an open air that you can get in. So there are ones that are open and possible, but it does take a little bit of searching to get those. There was another question mark from Mary Beth on how long should they figure out that registration will take?
Oh, good question. So there are going to be 2 orientation options. One for if you are an experienced adult leader and want to have a quick option. There's going to be one that will probably last only about 15 minutes, where there'll be another one if you're a first timer or want a little bit more information to get caught up on things. It'll be 30 minutes. So budget, probably a few minutes waiting in line to get queued for orientation, and then 15 to 30 minutes for your orientation. On the registration time, it's hard to know because it depends on how busy it is and whether you're waiting in line and to get through. But Krista and her team do an amazing job to make that as seamless as possible. That if you come at a time when there's not a lot of people, you literally walk up, you go right through, you get your backpacks to get registered, and you're done. So if you want to be safe, I would give yourself 30 minutes for the registration process, maybe a little bit more if you've got a lot of other things you're taking care of with program options or other things like that. But I'd say probably 30 minutes for that, and then again, maybe another 30 minutes plus for the orientation process. So if you want to be really safe, say an hour and a half, if you want to be safe there, but you might be able to do it again if you do the shorter orientation and as little bit of time as an hour, but at least probably budget that much time for yourself.
Excellent. We have several other parking ones that I want to get to. So one asked about parking as far as the, I totally lost my train of thought, sorry. At the drop off and pick up at the hotel, if they're bringing a charter bus, most hotels have spots right out front, correct?
Absolutely. Out front, it'll either be, at some of the properties, there'll actually be a pull-in location that you can do that. So for passenger drop-off, or if not, most of them have like a lane, the shoulder lane, if you will, on the street that the bus driver can put their blinkers on, and that's just fine for them to do that. Certainly, if you got any questions, call ahead to your hotel, but there should be no problem with in almost every property that there's somewhere in the general area where you're able to stop and park and pull off. And I should say thank you, Rachel. Great reminder to, if you have your stuff in by May 1st, postmarked in, that is the place how you save a lot of time in terms of you're paid up, you get express registration. I should clarify that, and thank you for that. That take advantage of that. That will save you a tremendous amount of time at registration on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world. A couple of people asked if they can park down by the stadium. Absolutely, you can park down by the stadium. There are several lots down there. The Fleet Farm lot, there's plenty of room down there. There's also a couple lots right next to it as well. And so one of the things that we're asking you to do, charter bus, is to really load back to your hotel as much as possible. So if you've got that, we're trying to get our shuttle routes, that people that need to get back to their hotel and get that, that really is what we're trying to concentrate on. So if you can head back to your hotel and load there, that would be by far the best way to do that. And Mark, there was another one on, someone asked about the hotels, and a couple different questions that I'll raise up for you. When do they learn about, like you were talking about the grab and go at the hotel, when do they learn about that? And the second one is, if they've got questions like late checkouts and things like that, when should they call the hotel and start having that connection with them?
Yeah, great question. Thanks all for your patience on that too, in terms of waiting a little bit of time. We'll do our best to notify you when that allows to happen, just to give you a little bit of a timeline. We're obviously getting your final paperwork and stuff, the last registrations here in these kind of last days. That will take about 2 weeks to make sure we have that all processed in place. And then our team will be having meetings with the hotels throughout the area, and we'll really be finalizing those things. So if you want me to put a little bit of a timeline, if you really want me to be safe, say we're talking about probably June, beginning of June, when you'd be contacting them. Because right now, part of the challenge is, like, they don't have you as registered guests yet until we do this next major step of really kind of filling our registrations into their system. So there's a little bit of a time to where We're giving them obviously a lot of information. They've got to get it entered into their system. So give them a little bit of time, but I would say just to kind of give you a little bit of time frame, I wouldn't be thinking until probably June that you're able to really contact them, because they've got a lot of information they got to process on their end. So that kind of just gives you a little bit of a timeline to be thinking about it.
All right, and before I get thrown off the bus here, I want to make sure I address the metal water bottle, because I know we do know it's a hot topic. It's been on Facebook too, and so we've got some of that we're addressing. We're still working with the stadium on that. They have encouraged us and said, please tell people not to bring metal water bottles. And here's why. We're sending, everyone's got to go through a gate, and there's the security side of things. It's just a part of stadium security that's important to us. We want to make sure it's that we do everything we can. The security is a hot thing for us, and it's part of the requirement of the stadium. And so part of that is there's some issues with for them. And so they say, do not bring metal water bottles. They will not confiscate them, but they're asking us to just to honor that as much as possible. We do want you to bring water bottles, because there's water stations all over the place that you can fill up and things like that. And they're being very good with us. In fact, one of the things that they said in the stadium, you can bring even individual snack items and things like that, granola bars and things like that you've had throughout the day, just to make sure that people have what they need. They're not going to confiscate those either. So they've been very good to work with, and we just want to honor that as well. Mark, do you want to talk about that a little bit because we've had some questions about that with the convention center as well?
Right, very similar pieces. And so just to kind of understand, you're working with health code issues and other things that are taking place within convention centers. So a little bit, I think of it a little bit as, when I'm going to a theater, what are my kind of rules of conduct when I go into a theater? Somewhat similar to that. However, convention center also adds a level of flexibility to it, because they understand huge percentage of our audience are coming in for the day. And so they're not expecting us not to have water bottles and to have snack food and that kind of stuff. So the main things that we lift up is one, and most restaurants should know this, is food cannot be delivered to the convention center as an address. So you can't have Jimmy John's delivered to the Minneapolis Convention Center. One thing. Two, just by and large, don't go buy that food at another restaurant and bring it into the convention center area. And I'm talking like full meals and things like that. Certainly they understand you're going to carry the granola bars, you're going to carry the snack foods, that kind of stuff with you to get throughout the day. They understand that's part of our event. They're so thankful to have us and to be able to provide nourishment throughout the day. The one thing we ask, though, even in that piece, there are going to be a lot of tables set up around concession stands. And we just kind of ask that you leave those open for those who are paying and buying for food at those concession stands, because that's also a health code piece thing as well. But just to be courteous to those who are buying food there, that they have a place to sit after they purchase. So eat that snack when you go into a session, eat that snack when you sit down there, find other places where you're able to do that. If you as an adult go to the adult rest area, do it there. Just to stay out of those kind of concession areas is kind of just some rule of thumbs to be thinking about within the convention center. But again, very gracious and thankful for them that they're giving us that flexibility with our event.
A couple other things, we are working with the city as far as discounts and things like that. That will be a part of the app that you'll get. And so if there are any specific, like the Mall of America, I know Daniel asked about that, those type of discounts for our group, in fact, we just had a meeting on that today. They will be noted, and we'll make sure that we get it your way as well. The other thing is Skyway options and routes and different things like that. We'll definitely be working with the CLVs in your hotels and different elements that we can help you and navigate that. What's the quickest way to do that? We've been working with the city as far as what are the safest routes and the quickest routes and the best sidewalks that people can walk down. So there will be more stuff on that. And then Sarah asked about special needs. And Sarah, probably the best way to do that is to call our office, and we'll connect you. We got a team that actually works with different special needs. So for example, with the wheelchair, we can definitely answer all million of your questions. We can do that. It might take a couple days, but we can get to those. Okay. So just call our office. We'll get to those as well. All right. Let's try to think if,
I'll add on to there to Jennifer's question that yes, about the sack lunches thing, the convention center understands that too. But again, just be courteous about where you eat those. those lunches, so that you're not in concession areas, that type of stuff, that you go eat those again, maybe when you're in a session, when you're other places. But yes, they'll be allowed. To put it another way, like with the convention center, there's no make search or anything like that. So just be discreet and be out of those areas where the concession is taking place.
How about really? Someone asked, Mark, on Rachel asked about the app release date. When's the day?
I might leave that one for Meredith, maybe, if she wants to answer that one. How that's coming along. What's a safe date to say, Meredith?
Hopefully in May.
Her and her team are working diligently on that, getting all the information entered and all the great opportunities that it allows us to do. So we are excited about that.
Yeah, it is going to be such a gift, such a gift. Another question that was asked or was around rooming list and different things like that. And one of the things we would say this, we know it's a little bit of a complication. And it's hotels. You got to remember, when we come into a hotel, it's not empty. They have to work with different guests who are there and things like that. Some of the best practices that we've seen with groups that come in, that especially those who want rooms that are close to each other with their groups, it's really almost impossible if you go in and saying, hey, we are here to check, we want our rooms right now and we want them all together. It's just doesn't happen in the hotel industry that way. One of the things that one of the groups did that we thought was really wise is they sent a group leader ahead of time, and the other group one did lunch, and they had some other activities that they were figuring out, and they just said, hey, we would like to have as many as close as possible. And so we're willing to wait a little bit and not check into the rooms right away. So when you get blocks of rooms to that, if you could put us near each other, we will wait 3 to 4 hours to do that. Not all hotels can do that, but it's a way, by being a little bit more patient, that you can be closer together. So that has worked for some groups really well. Mark, I'm trying to see if I've missed any. Oh, question about local volunteers. Is that application process still open?
It is. I'm actually going to put the link right in the, oops, I just did it wrong. But yes, it is still open, still available. Thanks, Meredith. If I can get that on there.
Okay. And we've got about 5 minutes left. So if there are any other questions, we want to make sure that we get that. By the way, thank you so much for all your kind words. I'll tell you, we have 250 planners that put in countless hours, and it's all volunteer time, and we are so grateful for them. And in fact, about 75 of them are going to be in the city the next 3 days, so working on some of the final details and working with people in the city to kind of further this along. So please, if you see a planner, tell them thank you for all the time that they're putting into, and if you can keep in your personal prayers the next 3 days, that would be fantastic. All right. Oh, Anne, great question. How much do you recommend? Oh, went off my screen. How much do you recommend to tip a housekeeping at the hotels? Great question.
Yeah, Ruth, I think you gave a really good answer there. $5 per room per day, about $1 per person per day. I would also add on that depends how messy you are, or how messy the room is, and how much they have to work, or what you're expecting of them. But I'd say like $1 per person is a good number per day. I saw someone else the question too, can you skip housekeeping? Absolutely. Just put the do not disturb sign on your door. I would do that. Some hotels will have services where you can kind of sign up that for the front end. I would go ahead and put the do not disturb sign on the door. Just that if you don't want service that day, absolutely. You can not have them service the room on any given day for sure. But that's, and thank you for those of you who are asking about tipping. That means a lot to the workers who are here. They work hard for us to make our stay great. And they get paid very little from an hourly perspective. So when you can give a tip, it's again a great witness, a great way to say thank you to them. And even I'd be thinking about it too. appreciate the per day comment. You get different staff, different days. So don't necessarily wait until the end to leave a tip because it may not be the same worker. So if you can tip every day that you're going to have cleaning, do it that way so that the person who actually does the work gets the tip.
Excellent. And there was a question about sessions. Yes, they will be released with that app, and they'll also have a great scheduling feature, so your kids can go through and say, "Oh, I want to go to that session," and it puts it right into their schedule. So you're going to love the app. It's going to be so fantastic. Are there morning Bible studies in the hotels like in the past?
Yours are at the convention center. So your morning session, we're calling it morning session, your Bible study will not be in your hotel. They'll be at the convention center. At the Hilton and the Hyatt properties, there will be morning sessions, but those will be for people coming in from out of town on the metro lines. So part of it is we're asking you in those hotels to move over to the convention center to leave room for groups who are traveling all the way into town to have a morning session. And because we need that much space for the number of people who are staying at outlying hotels. So yes, you will hear the word morning session taking place at the Hilton and the Hyatt, but yours are not. Yours are over at the convention center.
And David wants to know, is there going to be gathering news? There's always gathering news, David. There's tons of things that are going on. Our media team's going to cover it, but I know what you're talking about, and you are just going to have to wait and see what is coming. All right. Will the 5K route? Oh, excellent question. We did not cover the 5K.
Oh.
So will the 5K route be in downtown area, and we'll be able to go back to the hotel or clean up before mass event? So yes, the 5K route is going to be downtown. We're doing something a little different this year, and part of that is the beauty of the weather that we are certainly hoping isn't as warm. We are going to do it at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. It's going to start at the convention center right outside, kind of where the park is, and it is going to be a beautiful route right through the city, and it's going to end down by the stadium. And so that begins at 4 o'clock, depending on how fast you run or walk it. We'll give you the dimensions of how much time you have to. In fact, you could make it a 6K and just run right back to your hotel and clean up if you want to do that. So lots of different opportunities on that. Okay, and that link will be after our next webinar, which is the May 9th. All that sign-ups for State Fair, the 5K, all that stuff will be released and ready to register on those. Anything we need to know about choir or orchestra? Ann wants to know.
I don't think there's really any updates until once the application is closed, which is kind of now. So we'll get that process and figured out, and then the individual directors will be contacting those who are part of the choir and orchestra.
Okay. And Maribeth had a question about a child in our group. Are they allowed in the mass events?
I think I saw the question quickly. If I understood it, Mary Beth, the answer would be no. They're not allowed to attend the mass event with your group. The only registered participants are able to get into the stadium in the evening.
Okay. And let's see here. We are about out of time. So here's what we like to do. And there was a lot of information that we went through. Thanks for your patience on that. We hope that it was helpful. And we would like to end with prayer for you in particular. So is this the first webinar? This is not the first webinar. Actually, Wendy, great question. We've been doing webinars every month, and there is an archive of them on all kinds of different topics, from sessions to different gathering elements to themes and all that kind of stuff. So Meredith, maybe can you put a link on there that kind of takes them to that page, and then they can go back through and they can watch them until tomorrow morning if they wanted to, because I think there's like 14 or 15 of them there, or spread them over a couple days. But here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to end in prayer for you. One of the things we're going to do over the next 3 days is we're going to have our planners that are going to pray over you as adult leaders, because we know how important your role is in making sure that your youth have not only an amazing time, but we also know that this is bigger than a 5-day gathering. It's about congregational ministry and the most important moments back in your congregations. So here's what we'd like to do. We would like to end in praying for you. I'm gonna start us, and Mark, if you can end us, that would be great.
Bet.
Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for these planners, or Lord, for these adult leaders, all the time that they put in preparing and getting ready and researching and putting meetings together and talking with parents and registering. Lord, at times this can be a really tiresome process, but we thank you for their heart and their passion for their youth. We pray that you give them strength and energy in the last 60 plus days here as we get ready. We know that you're way ahead of us in this, and that you have gotten this city and are continuing to get the city ready for what you're going to do in July here. And so, Lord, we just wait with anticipation, but we really pray for each of these leaders that they would be energized, that the anxieties that they may have, that you would help put the right people, the right conversation, the right webinar, the right resource in front of them to help them and guide them in their preparation for the gathering.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this city and cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis, and for your people here that have just opened up their arms and their hearts to our participants. Lord, we thank you for all the people working here locally in our hotels and our restaurants, just on the metro, cab drivers, everyone who welcomes us to this place, and all the people that we get to interact. Lord, help us to start to understand just the light that our young people are to these cities, and that the blessing that they get to have of getting to know these amazing young people and the faith that you've given to them. Help us in those times to serve well, to confess our faith, to share the love of Christ in so many different ways as we learn about vocationally. Every day we get to do that, and the blessing that that is, and how you have rescued us and brought us into your family. Lord, I thank you for these adult leaders. Continue to bless them with energy and patience, and to be planning well, be communicating well, and just to be looking forward to this time to enjoy the grace that we have, knowing you are our real present God. We pray this name in the name of our Savior Jesus. Amen.